Ancient battle cruisers sat dormant for centuries. Then a human mechanic walked by, and it awakened. The sun hung low over the horizon of Kara. 9. A dead planet at the edge of the known galaxy. Its surface was cracked and dry, scattered with ruins of starships long forgotten. Most of them had been picked clean by scavengers centuries ago, leaving only skeletal frames rusting under the harsh sunlight. The planet itself seemed quiet, almost asleep, as if time had forgotten it existed. Among the ruins, Kira Vance moved carefully. Her boots crunched on the dusty metal fragments. She was small, wiry, and covered in grease stains from her work on starships. A human mechanic in a galaxy that often ignored her kind, Kira had learned to survive by being clever, curious, and patient. Today, she wasn't just scavenging parts. She was hunting for something different, something that could change her life. Kira's eyes scanned the horizon, spotting shapes half buried in dust. Twisted hulls of freighters, derelict fighters, and cargo haulers stretched in every direction. She walked past each one, tapping metal panels, inspecting wires, and shaking her head. Nothing here seemed special, until she saw it. At first, it looked like a shadow, a dark mass half buried in the sand, but as she stepped closer, the scale of it became impossible to ignore. The hull rose hundreds of meters into the sky, its surface smooth and black, unlike anything Kira had ever seen. Strange symbols ran along its edges, glowing faintly as if reacting to her presence. She froze. It was a ship, but not any ship she knew. Its design was elegant, almost alive. The curves of the hull seemed organic yet precise, like the work of an engineer with knowledge far beyond anything in the galaxy today. She had heard legends, of course. Stories passed down in hushed whispers at spaceports. Tales of ancient battle cruisers built by civilizations long gone. Vessels that could destroy entire fleets or save worlds in a single day. Most dismissed them as myths. But here it was, in front of her, real and enormous. Kira approached it cautiously. Her hand hovered over the hull, feeling the strange warmth beneath the metal. It pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. She knelt and brushed away centuries of dust and debris from the entrance. There was no visible door, no key, no panel that made sense. But as a mechanic, Kira had learned that every machine had a logic, a rhythm. If she could understand that, she could unlock it. She reached into her backpack and pulled out a power regulator, a device she had scavenged from a broken freighter. It was simple, human-made. Nothing compared to the technology of this ship, but it was clever. She attached it to a panel that seemed like it might respond to energy flow. Sparks flickered. A low hum vibrated through the air. Kira stepped back. The ship's surface shivered. Tiny lights flickered along its hull. A soft vibration grew stronger, running under her boots. She watched, breath held, as the hull seemed to respond to her touch. It was alive, or at least, it wanted to be. She didn't understand how. Her knowledge was small compared to this ship, but somehow she knew that it recognized her. The hum grew into a soft pulse. Then the symbols along the hull glowed brighter, forming patterns she couldn't read. They looked almost like writing, almost like a map, but not something her eyes could comprehend. Yet her mind understood it in part, as though the ship spoke in a language beyond words. "Hello?" she whispered. No reply. Not in words. But the ship responded anyway. The air shimmered around it. Panels slid open silently, revealing inner chambers that glowed with energy. Tiny drones, long and active, stirred and hovered, scanning her. They emitted a soft light that made her hair glow in the dim energy. Kira's heart raced. She had dreamed of finding something like this her whole life, but now that it was here, she felt a mix of awe and fear. This was not just a ship. It was a relic, a monument, a guardian of secrets older than any star she had seen. Her fingers traced one of the glowing symbols. The panel beneath it shifted slightly as if nudged by her touch. A door opened. It wasn't large. It seemed more ceremonial than functional. But it was a way in. Kira hesitated. She had walked among derelict ships before, crawling through wrecks and engines, scavenging what she could. But this was different. Something about the energy in the air, the way the ship seemed aware of her, made her stop. Then curiosity won. She stepped inside. The interior was vast, impossibly large for the hull visible outside. The walls were smooth and black, dotted with panels that hummed with light. She felt a strange vibration under her feet, a rhythm like a heartbeat, growing stronger with every step. The air smelled faintly of ozone and old metal. Everywhere she looked, she saw signs of advanced technology. Screens that weren't screens but seemed to project information directly into her mind. Consoles that adjusted themselves as she touched them, guiding her hands to the right connections. Kira realized she wasn't just exploring a ship, she was interfacing with it. Somehow, her presence triggered responses she didn't understand, but instinctively knew how to interact with. She moved deeper, following a corridor lined with lights that pulsed gently. Then she reached the heart of the ship, a chamber vast as a city square. In the center was a massive sphere of energy, spinning slowly, glowing with patterns of light that danced across the walls. It was alive. Kira felt her hands tremble. She approached the sphere. It responded, rippling with waves of energy that brushed against her mind. She saw visions, fragments of star systems, fleets of ships, maps of galaxies she had never visited. She realized the ship held knowledge, intelligence, and memories of countless worlds. A sudden thought struck her. This wasn't just a ship. It was a guardian, a sentinel built to awaken when the right mind touched it, and somehow it had chosen her. Her fingers brushed another panel. Lights flared, and the ship shivered. The floor beneath her vibrated. She stumbled back, heart hammering, as the sphere's glow intensified. Then the ship spoke, not in words, but in thought, in feeling. Alive. Awake. Recognized. Kira gasped. She was terrified, yet exhilarated. She had triggered something monumental, something that had been waiting for centuries, and now it was awake. Outside, the wind swept across the desert of Kara. 9. The planet seemed quiet still, but the ruins of ships trembled ever so slightly, as if acknowledging the awakening of the ancient cruiser. Kira stepped back from the sphere, breathing heavily.
Her mind raced. What had she done?
Could she control this, or had she unleashed something far beyond her understanding? Then she noticed something else. Symbols on the walls formed a pattern she could read, not with her eyes, but with her mind. Directions, sequences, instructions. It was giving her guidance, not orders, not demands, but a choice. She could leave. She could explore. She could even try to take control. The hum of energy grew louder, filling her chest. She felt a thrill she had never felt before. The ship was alive, aware, and responding to her. And she realized, with a mix of fear and awe, that she had changed her life forever. A sudden rumble shook the floor. Dust fell from the ceiling. Panels along the wall slid open, revealing long dormant systems activating. Lights pulsed rhythmically. Sensors scanned the corridors, and the hum of the ship's power core grew into a steady, powerful heartbeat. Kira's eyes widened. The ship wasn't just waking. It was coming alive, reacting to her in ways she could not predict. Every instinct in her body screamed caution, but another voice, curiosity, daring, human ingenuity, urged her forward. She took another step into the chamber. The sphere in the center expanded slightly, sending out a ripple of energy that brushed her mind. She glimpsed stars she had never seen, galaxies beyond the maps of any known explorer, and fleets of ships, long gone, now preserved in memory. The ship had been waiting. For centuries, perhaps millennia, it had waited for someone to awaken it, and now it had found her. Kira swallowed hard, trying to steady her racing heart. I don't know what I'm doing, she whispered aloud, but the ship seemed to reply in its own way, vibrating softly, glowing brighter, acknowledging her presence. It was not hostile. It was not angry. It was alive, and it had chosen her. Outside, the sky darkened as the twin suns set. Kara! 9 was silent again, except for the low hum of the ancient cruiser. In that moment, Kira understood one simple truth. Her life had changed forever. The galaxy had just grown a little smaller, because a human had found something older, smarter, and far more powerful than anyone had believed possible. And somewhere deep in her mind, a thought took root. What if this ship could take her beyond the edges of the galaxy? Beyond anything humans had ever dreamed? For the first time in her life, Kira felt like she had touched something truly extraordinary. The last light of the sun glinted off the cruiser's hull, and a single panel opened fully, inviting her inside. The hum grew louder, the symbols brighter, and Kira stepped forward, ready to see what the universe had been waiting to show her. It had been asleep for centuries. Now it was awake. And it had found a human. The air inside the cruiser was warm, humming with energy, alive in ways Kira had never felt before. Every surface pulsed faintly, reacting to her presence. The ship was awakening, and she was the spark. She ran her hands along a wall panel, watching the lights ripple under her touch. The patterns were alien, shifting, yet somehow logical. As if the ship itself was testing her understanding. Kira took a deep breath. "All right," she whispered. "Let's see what you can do." Her first instinct was to explore. She moved carefully down the corridor, noting the sheer scale of the vessel. The walls curved like the inside of a cathedral, dotted with strange consoles and panels that seemed more alive than metal. Small drones dormant a moment ago now floated around her, scanning, measuring, recording. She dodged a few, fascinated, realizing that the ship was aware of her movements, tracking every step. She came to a central chamber. It was massive, much larger than the outside hull suggested. The floor was smooth, black with soft golden lines marking pathways. The ceiling disappeared into shadow. At the center of the room hovered a sphere of light, spinning slowly, casting reflections across the walls. Kira approached, her steps echoing softly. As she reached out, the sphere pulsed. Images flashed across her mind: stars, planets, ships, entire civilizations. The information was raw, fragmented, but the ship seemed to be offering knowledge directly to her brain. She staggered back, heart pounding, overwhelmed. "It's showing me everything?" she muttered. The sphere pulsed again, slower this time, almost like it was waiting. Kira realized she could interact. She adjusted a small control panel near the sphere, and a sequence of lights shifted into a pattern she could understand. The sphere responded, focusing the images into a single stream she could follow. It was teaching her. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time had no meaning here. Kira learned to read the ship's systems, to move energy between cores, to stabilize circuits that had been dormant for centuries. Each success brought a soft vibration, a pulse from the ship, almost like approval. She smiled despite herself. Humans were small, fragile, and mortal, but clever. That cleverness was shining through here, in this alien cathedral of technology. Suddenly, a low rumble vibrated through the chamber. The sphere's light brightened, and Kira realized the ship was moving. Not through space, but activating systems. Doors slid open, revealing staircases, maintenance corridors, observation decks. She could see sensors on the walls and ceiling sweeping the chambers, scanning. The cruiser was becoming aware of its surroundings again, and it had chosen her as its operator. Kira felt a thrill. "You're alive?" she whispered, almost laughing. "I didn't just wake you up. You know me now." The ship's response was subtle, almost imperceptible. A shift in the air, a vibration in the floor, a hum through the walls. It was alive, it was aware, and it was listening. She explored further. She found a console with symbols she didn't recognize, panels that required no hands, just gestures and thoughts. Slowly, instinctively, Kira discovered she could influence the systems. She powered up engines, activated internal sensors, and even managed to start the ship's navigation interface. She didn't know where to go, but the thrill of control was intoxicating. Then she noticed something alarming. Outside the cruiser, signals flashed across the planet's surface. Ancient scanners, long dormant, were now transmitting again. Alien research stations in orbit had detected the awakening. Even from light years away, they recognized the signature of an ancient cruiser. Kira froze. She was just a human. A mechanic. She had no fleet, no weapons, no army. Yet now, she was at the center of something that could change the balance of the galaxy. Fear prickled at the edges of her mind, but curiosity won again. She activated the observation deck and peered out. The desert of Kara. 9 stretched beneath her. Dust swirled in small tornadoes across the plains, but nothing seemed alive, except her and the ship. Her heart skipped as she realized she could lift off. Not far, not yet, but just enough to hover above the surface. She manipulated the controls, feeling the hum of the engines under her fingers. Slowly, the cruiser's hull shuddered and rose, dust spiraling into the air. Kara. 9 fell away beneath her, and for the first time, Kira looked at the world from the height of a giant. The stars above were brighter now. The planet's twin suns cast long shadows across the land, and she felt an exhilarating freedom. She was alone, but not powerless. Hours, or perhaps a full cycle of Kara. 9 suns passed as she experimented. She learned to move the cruiser with precision, hover above the dunes, and rotate its massive hull with the lightest touch. Every adjustment elicited a response from the ship. Every spark of her ingenuity caused systems to awaken, lights to flicker, energy to flow. Then came the moment she didn't expect. The cruiser's ancient sensors detected movement in space, signals so faint she wouldn't have noticed without the ship's help. Images appeared on panels she had never seen before. Fleets, far away, unknown and powerful. They weren't hostile, yet, but their presence reminded Kira that the galaxy was watching. She realized the ship could be a beacon, and not just to humans. Entire civilizations would notice its awakening. She was no longer a small mechanic on a dead planet. She was a human in command of an artifact of unimaginable power. For the first time, the responsibility weighed on her. What if the cruiser was seen as a weapon? What if civilizations came to claim it or destroy it? She swallowed hard and looked at the glowing sphere again. "I don't know how to fight," she admitted. "But I can. I can fix things. I can make things work. I can help." The ship seemed to understand. It pulsed warmly, almost reassuringly. It was alive, yes, but it was not dangerous. At least not yet. Its power was immense, but Kira's cleverness, her ability to think differently, had triggered its systems. She realized humans didn't always need brute strength to survive. Sometimes, intelligence and ingenuity were enough. She moved to another control panel, tentatively interfacing with it. Instructions flickered across the screens, diagrams she could understand by intuition. The cruiser was teaching her, but also learning from her. Every adjustment, every connection she made, improved the ship's systems. She marveled at the harmony between human instinct and ancient technology. And then, the first test of her skill came unexpectedly. A nearby asteroid, previously undetected, drifted perilously close. She could see it through the observation deck. Instinctively, she activated the cruiser's deflection system, directing a gentle pulse of energy that nudged the asteroid off course. It moved smoothly, harmlessly away, and Kira exhaled in relief. She smiled. Humans were small, fragile, often underestimated. But she had just prevented a disaster with nothing but intuition and a sense of timing. She felt pride swell in her chest. The cruiser hummed louder, its lights brighter. It had recognized something it had been waiting for. A mind willing to think creatively. A human mind. And for the first time, Kira felt that she wasn't alone. She and the ship were partners, working together to awaken a dormant legacy. Hours turned into a cycle of exploration and experimentation. She learned to manipulate systems, activate sensors, and even reach into the cruiser's memory banks. She discovered ancient star charts, maps of civilizations long vanished, and fleets that had once ruled galaxies. The knowledge was overwhelming, but thrilling. And then, the first communication came. Not a message in words, but a signal to distant parts of the galaxy, emanating from the cruiser. Aliens, researchers, and explorers felt it. Some would fear it, some would be curious. All would know that something extraordinary had awakened. Kira realized the magnitude of her discovery. She was just a human, a small mechanic from the edges of the galaxy, but she now held the key to something that could reshape civilizations. The ship's hum became a steady pulse, almost like a heartbeat, syncing with her own. She sat down on a raised platform, exhausted but exhilarated, and looked at the glowing sphere in the center. The ship was awake, and she was awake to it. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine what lay ahead. Not the dangers, but the possibilities. She could explore uncharted regions, discover lost civilizations, and unlock secrets that had been hidden for millennia. And perhaps, just perhaps, she could show the galaxy what humans were capable of. The sun set fully over Kara Gulain. 9, and shadows stretched across the desert. But inside the cruiser, light danced and energy flowed. Kira understood one thing clearly. She was no longer a simple mechanic. She was the operator of a vessel older, wiser, and more powerful than any living being she had ever met. And the galaxy, unknowingly, was about to notice. The cruiser glided silently above Kara 9, its massive hull reflecting the faint light of distant stars. Kira Vance stood on the observation deck, staring out at the horizon. The planet below seemed calm, but the galaxy beyond was awakening to her presence. Signals from the cruiser had already reached neighboring systems, and she knew she was no longer alone. Her mind raced. She had spent hours learning the ship's systems, stabilizing energy cores, activating sensors, and exploring ancient archives. But now she had to think beyond Kara. 9. The ship was enormous, powerful, and capable of traversing interstellar space in ways she could barely imagine. Other civilizations, those she had only read about in fragmented histories, would notice. Some would fear her. Some would be curious. Kira tapped a control panel. Streams of light danced across the displays, revealing data she couldn't have imagined. Ships, planets, stations, civilizations long forgotten. And one thing became clear. The cruiser was not just a ship. It was a guardian, a sentinel that had stored knowledge and power far beyond anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. She felt a thrill, mixed with fear. Humans were small, fragile, often underestimated. But she had just become the operator of an ancient weapon. "What do I do now?" she whispered, half to herself, half to the ship. The cruiser seemed to respond with a vibration through the floor, a soft pulse that reminded her of a heartbeat. Then lights along the observation deck flickered, displaying a map of nearby systems. Small dots of energy appeared, glowing faintly. The cruiser was showing her where it could go, where it could reach. Kira took a deep breath. Her first instinct was caution, but curiosity won. She selected a route that led out of the Kara 9 system past debris fields and toward a cluster of uncharted planets. The engines hummed, responding to her commands. Slowly, the cruiser lifted higher, leaving the planet behind. The stars stretched out before her, countless and endless. She felt small, but alive in a way she had never known. As the cruiser moved through space, signals began to arrive. At first, they were faint. Automated distress pings, ancient tracking beacons, fragments of messages. Then, clearer transmissions. Ships from neighboring systems were asking questions. What is that vessel? Who was controlling it? Is it hostile? Kira realized the galaxy had noticed. She took a moment to steady herself. She had no military training, no strategy manuals, no fleet to command. But she had ingenuity, intuition, and the ship. That had to be enough. Her first contact came from a research station orbiting a nearby planet. A holographic projection flickered into view on one of the cruiser's panels. The image was alien, a tall, slender being with pale blue skin and eyes that seemed to glow. Its voice was musical, rising and falling in tones she barely understood, but the cruiser translated it. "Identify yourself," it said. "You operate an ancient cruiser of immense power. State your intent." Kira swallowed. Her instincts screamed caution. She didn't know if this alien species was friendly, or if they would attack on sight. But she had something humans had that others often underestimated: creativity and honesty. "I'm Kira Vance," she said. "I'm a mechanic. I found this ship." "I'm not here to fight. I'm learning. I'm trying to understand it." The alien tilted its head. "A human? Alone? You operate a vessel that even our scholars considered lost to legend. Why?" Kira shrugged, unsure how to explain centuries of curiosity and instinct. "I fixed it." "It woke up. It seems to want me here." "I don't know why. But I can help, if that's needed." The alien paused. Then, after a long moment, it said, "Interesting. We will observe. Proceed carefully." The projection vanished. Kira exhaled, relief flooding her chest. She realized humans were often underestimated. Small, fragile, not meant to command, not meant to survive, and yet here she was, holding the attention of the galaxy. The cruiser's systems hummed as if agreeing with her thoughts. It had chosen her, and together they could explore more than anyone had thought possible. Over the next few cycles, Kira tested the ship's capabilities. She activated long-dormant scanners, discovering hidden asteroid belts, abandoned space stations, and systems that had not been mapped in thousands of years. She mapped routes through dangerous sectors, using clever adjustments to the engines to navigate safely. The cruiser responded beautifully to her commands, as if it trusted her judgment. Then came the first encounter. A small alien scout vessel appeared on the sensors, approaching cautiously. Its markings suggested it belonged to a neighboring civilization known for its curiosity and intelligence, not war. Kira watched it carefully. She had options. She could flee, hide, or confront. Instead, she chose demonstration. She adjusted the ship's energy flow, directing a pulse of power toward a nearby asteroid. The rock shifted gently, moving along a new trajectory without harm. The scout vessel observed, sensors flickering with surprise. Kira smiled. Humans often acted without strength, but with cleverness, control, and precision. This display said everything she needed it to. She was not a threat, but she was capable. The scout transmitted a signal back to its civilization. Within cycles, messages arrived from multiple systems. Aliens debated what this meant. Some were cautious. Some were awestruck, but all were aware. A human had awakened an ancient cruiser and was mastering it. Kira realized that humans had long been underestimated. They were seen as fragile, unremarkable, unpredictable, but her actions proved otherwise. She didn't rely on brute force or weapons. She relied on thought, ingenuity, and daring, and the galaxy was watching. Hours passed. She continued to explore, venturing further from Kara. 9, passing uncharted planets and ancient relics of civilizations long gone. The cruiser responded to her curiosity, revealing archives of star maps, fleet designs, and technology lost to time. Kira marveled at the scale of it all. The knowledge was staggering, yet her human intuition allowed her to navigate it, connect pieces, and understand patterns. Then the ship alerted her to a cosmic anomaly, a swirling rift in space that distorted light and energy. It was unstable, dangerous to nearby systems. Kira's pulse quickened. Here was a real test, not a demonstration, not a minor adjustment, a real challenge. She approached the rift carefully. Sensors picked up its intensity, mapping energy flows, gravitational distortions, and radiation spikes. The cruiser could interact with it, she realized, but it would require skill and timing. Human skill. Her skill. For the first time, Kira felt a mixture of fear and pride. Humans were small, often dismissed, and yet here she was, facing a cosmic anomaly with a vessel older and more powerful than anyone alive had seen. She had to think, adapt, and act creatively. She adjusted the cruiser's energy conduits, rerouted power to stabilize the surrounding space, and guided the rift's energy away from nearby star systems. Each step required precise timing and intuition. She felt her heartbeat sync with the ship's pulse. Humans were fragile, yes, but clever, daring, and adaptable. That was enough. Finally, after cycles of careful adjustments, the anomaly stabilized. Nearby systems were safe. The cruiser hummed softly, lights dimming to a steady glow. Kira exhaled, exhausted but exhilarated. She had done it. Humans had solved what centuries of advanced civilizations might have failed to do. As the cruiser moved away from the anomaly, Kira realized something profound. She was no longer just a mechanic from the edge of the galaxy. She was a human who had earned the respect of the cosmos without firing a shot, without commanding a fleet, simply through ingenuity and courage. Her comms panel flickered. Messages from alien civilizations poured in. Not demands, not threats, but curiosity and cautious admiration. Aliens debated, and even some cautiously suggested alliances. Humans previously underestimated were being recognized for what they truly were: clever, bold, and capable of mastering what others could not. Kira smiled faintly, glancing at the cruiser's glowing sphere. She had awakened more than a ship. She had awakened the galaxy's awareness of human potential. And yet, she knew this was only the beginning. The cruiser had more to show, more systems to explore, and more challenges ahead. The galaxy would test her. But she would meet it with human ingenuity, daring, and the trust of a ship older than most civilizations combined. The stars stretched endlessly before her, each one a possibility. Kira felt a thrill she had never known. Humans were underestimated. They were often overlooked. But here she was, guiding an ancient sentinel, exploring the edges of knowledge, and beginning to reshape how the galaxy saw her species. For the first time, she understood. Humans didn't need to be the strongest. They didn't need weapons, fleets, or armies. They needed creativity, courage, and the willingness to act. And that was enough to change the galaxy. Kira leaned back against the observation deck railing, her eyes on the endless expanse. The cruiser hummed around her, alive, responsive, and patient. Together, they would explore, learn, and perhaps even guide the galaxy towards something it had long forgotten: respect for the human mind. The galaxy had noticed, and it would never be the same. The cruiser glided silently through the void, its massive black hull gleaming in the starlight. Kira Vance stood on the observation deck, hands gripping the railing, staring at the swirling cosmic anomaly ahead. It was unlike anything she had ever seen, a twisting rift of light and energy, stretching across the void like a wound in the fabric of space itself. Nearby systems trembled under its subtle gravitational pull. Her pulse raced. This was no test. This was a real challenge, one that could affect countless civilizations. And yet, for the first time, Kira did not feel fear alone. She felt human ingenuity, daring, and the weight of centuries of underestimated potential behind her. The cruiser hummed beneath her feet, alive and aware. Its systems had fully awakened under her guidance. Energy conduits pulsed with steady rhythm. The glowing sphere in the central chamber radiated information and instruction she could understand instinctively. It was a partnership now. Human mind and ancient machine, each enhancing the other. Kira took a deep breath and accessed the ship's navigational systems. The rift was unstable, sending waves of energy in unpredictable directions. Sensors displayed the flow of radiation, magnetic distortions, and gravitational anomalies. Most civilizations would panic or flee. Most would send fleets to attack or contain it blindly. But Kira was human, and humans were clever in ways others were not. She activated the cruiser's energy stabilizers, channeling power to the surrounding space. The anomaly responded immediately, shifting violently. Lights flickered across the cruiser's hull. Alarms rang softly, though the ship itself was calm. guiding her hand. She adjusted conduits, redirecting energy along precise channels. Each movement required timing, calculation, and intuition. Hours, or what felt like hours, passed in a blur. Kira worked tirelessly, guided by the pulse of the ship. She tapped into its archives, learning ancient techniques for stabilizing gravitational distortions, rerouting energy flows, and synchronizing power fields. The cruiser's systems were beyond anything humans had ever known, but her mind grasped the logic, adapting it in ways the ship seemed to recognize as uniquely human. And then, the first breakthrough came. A pulse of energy from the cruiser met the rift, and the swirling chaos began to slow. Light patterns became more uniform. Radiation levels stabilized. Kira could feel it, the anomaly responding to human creativity, to daring, to problem-solving rather than brute force. She smiled, despite exhaustion. Humans were underestimated. Always underestimated. And yet here she was, proving that thought, courage, and intuition could rival the might of ancient civilizations. But the rift fought back. It expanded in sudden bursts, throwing waves of energy toward nearby systems. Kira's heart raced. The cruiser's system strained under the load. She took a deep breath, closed her eyes for a moment, and focused. Humans were small. Humans were fragile. But humans adapted. She accessed the ship's energy matrix directly, rerouting power through channels she had never used before. She thought in patterns, in sequences, in intuitive leaps that no alien protocol could predict. The rift twisted violently, then paused. The cruiser responded to her, amplifying her decisions. Together, human and ship acted as one. Then came the final step. Kira projected a sequence of energy pulses, carefully timed into the heart of the anomaly. It shivered violently, then stabilized. Light radiated outward, energy flowing evenly, harmonizing the surrounding space. Nearby systems were safe. Stars that had trembled under the rift's influence shone steadily once more. She exhaled, exhausted, but exhilarated. Humans had solved what countless civilizations might have failed to do, and she, a single human mechanic, had done it, not with weapons, not with fleets, but with ingenuity, intuition, and courage. The cruiser hummed around her, lights pulsing gently. It had recognized her fully now, acknowledging her as a worthy operator. The sphere glowed brighter than ever, radiating calm and power. It was alive, yes, but it had also learned something new. Humans were capable of far more than anyone had imagined. Messages flooded in across the cruiser's communications array. Alien civilizations reached out, not with threats, but with respect, curiosity, and cautious admiration. Scientists, historians, and leaders debated what they had witnessed. A human had awakened an ancient battle cruiser and had mastered a cosmic anomaly that had threatened countless systems. Kira listened, stunned. Humans were finally being recognized not for their strength, not for their numbers, but for their cleverness and daring. They had been underestimated for centuries, and now she had shown them why that was a mistake. She turned from the observation deck to the control room, running her hands over the consoles. Each panel responded to her touch, lights dancing in recognition. She smiled faintly. She had found a place among the stars, not as a soldier, not as a conqueror, but as a human capable of understanding and guiding ancient technology. The cruiser began to move. Its engines activated fully, lifting it into higher space. Kira had no destination in mind, only possibilities. Ancient maps filled the ship's archives, lost systems, forgotten civilizations, uncharted territories. The galaxy was vast, and now humans had a chance to explore it, guided by a mind both human and machine. A signal arrived from a distant system, translated by the cruiser. Your species, your actions, have changed our understanding. We wish to observe and learn.
Kira smiled again.
Humans were small, yes, but clever. Fragile, yes, but adaptable. And now, even the far reaches of the galaxy had noticed. Hours passed in quiet exploration. Kira navigated the cruiser through debris fields, mapped forgotten systems, and activated dormant technology. She discovered planets rich with resources, systems where civilizations had vanished long ago, and relics of ancient wars. Each discovery reminded her that humans could do more than survive. They could thrive, learn, and teach. And then, a final thought struck her. The cruiser had awakened centuries ago, waiting for someone to understand it. It had chosen her, and perhaps, just perhaps, it had chosen humans. Not for their strength, not for their fleets, not for their weapons, but for their minds. Kira leaned back against the observation deck railing, looking out at the endless stars. The galaxy stretched before her, full of possibilities and unknown wonders. She felt small, yes, but alive in a way she had never known. Humans had been underestimated for too long. And now, the galaxy would remember them. The cruiser hummed softly, a companion, a guardian, a witness to human ingenuity. And Kira knew one thing for certain. She had only begun to show the universe what humans were capable of. For the first time, she allowed herself a small, triumphant smile. Humans were clever, bold, and adaptable. They were underestimated, and that was their greatest advantage. The cruiser glided into the stars, carrying a human and a legacy of knowledge, power, and awakening. And somewhere deep in the heart of the galaxy, civilizations took note. Humans had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same.